Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Rangers review. A special bonus show, if you like, but I wish we weren't recording until later on this evening. We have no game. Dens Park has failed a second pitch inspection. It passed the first one at 11 a.m. this morning. However, the rain had then started to fall in Dundee, and the pitch is now deemed unplayable. So we will not have a game this evening. The SPFL have released a statement. I'll read you what it says, folks. The SPFL have confirmed that this evening's cinch Premiership fixture between Dundee and Rangers at the Scott Foam Stadium, Dens Park, has been postponed due to a waterlogged pitch. The match referee carried out an inspection of the playing surface this morning and deemed it to be playable, but noting the adverse weather forecast for later today, arranged a further pitch inspection for 3:30 p.m. with the agreement of both clubs. At the 3:30 p.m. pitch inspection, the pitch was deemed to be unplayable, and the fixture has now been rescheduled to Dens Park next Wednesday, April the 17th, live on Sky Sports with an 8 p.m. kickoff. Callum Beattie, Chief Operating Officer at the SPFL, said the match referee has carried out 2 detailed pitch inspections today, and in light of the forecast for heavy rain later today in Dundee, a decision has now been taken that the pitch will not be playable this evening. Whilst the development is extremely disappointing, we have had contingency measures in place since last month and informed both clubs by email on March 21st of our intention, should tonight's game fall victim to the weather, that we would rearrange the game for Dens Park on the evening of Wednesday, April 17th. In the last week, we have explored other possible options with both clubs, but none of them were deemed to be better than our original contingency plan. This decision gives this vital fixture the very best chance of being played in front of both sets of supporters, and also gives us a week to finalise further contingency planning in the event that the weather unexpectedly deteriorates in the interim. There is currently an ongoing disciplinary process regarding pitch issues at Dens Park, and the latest developments will form part of those inquiries. There you go, Chris. Just as well you never set off from the house this afternoon. This is my take on it. An absolute shambles, a disgrace that the decision has been taken so late in the day. There's so many Rangers fans travelling from far-flung places to this game. I sincerely hope that the governing body issue compensation to each and every one of them, as they should have done when the original game was called off. Whether that happens or not, I wouldn't hold my breath, but it's a total disgrace.
It certainly is. I think, there were a number of people adding an expletive onto the front of the adjectives that you used there, Derek. It's nowhere near good enough. We said it after the shambles of the last game being called off. We've said it since. We've said it again this morning. It's completely unacceptable for a top flight club to have a pitch in that condition at this stage of the season, and it's not a one-off. It's not been some freak weather incident over the last 24 hours that's caused issues. That can happen. If that had been the case, you would be disappointed, but you'd have a bit of sympathy. But it's not. This is a long-running, a long-standing issue with that surface at Dens Park, and Rangers as a football club, as a playing squad, as a staff, and as a support, have been royally messed about by Dundee over the last couple of weeks. So you have to feel for the fans. It's also a huge inconvenience for the manager. He spoke really well about it yesterday at his press conference, laid out the football side of why it's such a big issue. But to have an inspection at 11 o'clock in the morning, it was obvious that it was going to rain after that. You didn't have to work for the Met Office to know that conditions were going to get worse after that 11 a.m. inspection. Rangers fans would have had to have set off in the hours in between. Guys coming from across the water, guys coming from down south, coming from all corners of Scotland, and it's just not good enough. They're putting hard-earned money into the Scottish game, taking days off work, taking holiday days, booking hotels. There's buses, there's cars, there's trains, there's planes, there's boats. So much expense goes into following Rangers. The Rangers fans do it in such huge numbers. They do it season after season after season, and to be treated like this, not once but twice now by the same club, it's nowhere near acceptable. So selfishly, thankfully, I was able to leave slightly later, or I didn't have to leave as early. If the decision hadn't been made when it was, I would have been out the door, but wouldn't have been that far. But guys in far worse situations than myself, and you just have to feel for them, because they've been treated really, really badly. It's good to see that the league have been proactive, if you like. They've put the statement out. They've said when it'll now be rescheduled for. Good to see that there's potential disciplinary action in the pipeline against Dundee as well. But having to play this game a couple of days before a Scottish Cup semi-final, certainly not ideal. It was a chance for Rangers to go top of the league. That's been denied them once again. So you could only imagine the anger and the frustration that's within that Rangers camp. They made their way up at the team hotel yesterday afternoon after the press conference. Been delayed, been messed about. Philippe Clement, when he speaks to press once again on Friday, he is not going to be happy, and rightly so.
Yeah, loads of comments coming in. Rangers have released a statement, folks. I'll read you what it has, what the club have said. It says, Rangers has written to the SPFL outlining its position following today's further postponement of the Dundee Scottish Premiership fixture. The negligence and unprofessionalism demonstrated by Dundee Football Club, where they have repeatedly breached SPFL rules, continues to have a damaging effect on the top professional league in the country. In a week where record TV viewing figures were recorded for a match in the same competition, and this evening's game due to be televised again by Sky Sports, this episode is deeply embarrassing and has also been eminently avoidable. Rangers expects the SPFL to take proportionate and decisive action in accordance with its rules, and the club will continue to make representations to them in the strongest possible manner. The club has been repeatedly putting forward solutions to the SPFL which have not been taken up. It has again proposed a solution to the preparation and execution of this rescheduled fixture and is awaiting a response from the SPFL. As things stand, the rescheduled match will be on Wednesday, April 17th at 8 p.m. The club considers that this matter has been handled incorrectly throughout by both Dundee and the SPFL. At this time, we sympathise fully once again with our supporters, approximately 4,000 of whom were looking forward to attending tonight's game, having already been left hugely inconvenienced and out of pocket by the first postponement last month. It is entirely unacceptable and disrespectful on the part of Dundee FC to have allowed this situation to have developed again. So Rangers don't miss there, Chris, taking aim at both Dundee and the governing body. Interestingly, I thought this was worth noting. The club have put forward solutions to the SPFL which have not been taken up. I wonder which solutions those were. Perhaps playing at a neutral venue. I know that Philippe Clement says he wasn't opposed to that idea when he was speaking to you guys yesterday. Lots of comments, and this is my view. Get the game played at Ibrox, a proper surface. I'll give them the home dressing room. Don't care, just get the game on and get it done with. Leaves Rangers having less preparation time ahead of a huge Scottish Cup semi-final against Hearts. They'll have the full week. And who's to say, as lots of comments are coming in, Charlie with the point, what happens if it rains next week, as the manager quite rightly stated yesterday. So where do we go from here?
I think that the point that Charlie makes there is the first one that springs to mind. Is, as we said on the show this morning, it's easy to say we'll just move the fixture on 7 days. Well, if it rains in the next 6 days, what happens? What happens then? We've seen the condition of that surface, not just over the last couple of hours. Saw it when Rangers were up there a couple of weeks ago. The condition of it for the Motherwell game wasn't acceptable for a top flight game of football either. So it's not a case of it's a one-off. There's obviously huge issues with that pitch that will take time and money to resolve. Dundee clearly don't want to put the money into it, otherwise they would have done it already this season, and we're now running out of time. I thought that's a really, really strong statement from Rangers. Again, fair play to them. They also huge sympathy with their own fans, but clearly frustrated at the situation that they've been left in. I say they're going for Premiership title, potentially going for the treble, or have a Scottish Cup game against Hearts next week. They should not be in this situation. If you're a football club, you're there to play football matches. To play football matches, you need to meet a certain condition for your pitch, and it's an embarrassing state of affairs. The manager said that yesterday. How tin pot, how amateur does this look for Scottish football? Again, that game live on Sky tonight. That's twice that Sky have taken the trucks and the cameras and the staff up there to only have pictures of a pitch inspection at a time when we're trying to attract investment into the game. We're trying to attract more eyes on it, get more fans involved. Things like this just do not help in the slightest. And the fault, again, as we said this morning, the fault, as Rangers have put in their statement, it comes down to Dundee, because you go 100 yards down the road and there's a pitch there that's perfectly playable. It's not a case of it's this area of the country, or it's a freak weather system that's hit Tayside. Other pitches are good to go. Dens Park is nowhere near it.
There's amateur pitches that are better than what's been served up at Dens Park. It's an absolute disgrace. John Nelms, he's prioritised, of course, players as opposed to the infrastructure and maintenance of the pitch. Now, I do know that Dundee are hoping to move at some point down the line, but it is totally unacceptable that this game has been called off for a second time so late in the day. As the Rangers statement states, 4,000 supporters heading up there. Many have already left their homes to head to this game. As I touched on at the start of the show, Neil Doncaster gets paid a vast amount of money. He takes a lot of money out of the game. There's enough in the game to reimburse every supporter that is out of pocket attending this fixture, which has been postponed for a second time. Lizzie, the comment says, I mean, it might rain next week, Chris. I don't have any, I don't know what the weather forecast is next week, but that pitch, you look at it, we've seen the images, we've seen the video of it. That's not going to magically improve come next week, is it? We could be in the same situation again.
Very, very easily. It's thankfully Dundee aren't on that pitch on Saturday. Their final post-split, or what should be their final post-split or pre-split fixture, is at Pittodrie. They're away to Aberdeen on Saturday, so that perhaps gives the pitch a couple of days. But when you see the impact that the rain has had on it, I say it's only going to get worse. It's hard to see how that surface is going to improve. Not at this stage of the season. Not in the time scales, not with the time and the money that's going to take to get that pitch sorted. It's a whole summer exercise, not something you can just do in the space of 6 or 7 days. So interesting to know what the other plans that Rangers put to the league were. Certainly try and find out, make a couple of calls on that over the course of the next couple of hours and tomorrow to see what Rangers were trying to do, what solutions, because they are in. I know Dundee are going for the top 6, and it's an important game for them, but it just carries such huge ramifications for Rangers in football and financial terms. They've made it perfectly clear that they wanted the game on. They were really unhappy at the way the situation unfolded the last time. The manager spoke about that. I got to Dens Park last time, spoke to him after the postponement, and he was clearly unhappy about how the decision had been communicated, the fact that Rangers hadn't been told about the uncertainty and then been told about the inspection in time. So that's clearly left a sour taste in the mouth. This, as the Rangers statement shows this afternoon, it's sour relations between the two clubs. But the fault of that lies very much in the hands of one club.
It's an absolute shocker. Cammy with a point. How many times can a fixture be rescheduled? They'll have to do it before the split, of course, as Chris says. Dundee hoping to make it to the top 6. So, listen, the headline news, folks, if you will be aware now, that game tonight has been called off. So Rangers next in action this coming Sunday, when we'll go up to Dingwall to take on Ross County. Yes, as I mentioned, the manager was asked on the game. And the situation, of course, the team are up at a hotel in St Andrews. He was asked, how hopeful are you that this game will get the go-ahead? I don't know. It's a crazy situation to go in a top league that you don't know the day before. We're going to travel now. We're going to stay in a hotel, and we don't know yet if the game is on tomorrow or not. That is a really weird situation. It can happen in extreme circumstances. I don't think in the last few years in all the top leagues it ever happened. But now when it is raining in Scotland, there is a problem every time. It's not that in Scotland there are a lot of sunny days. It is a bad situation for the league, I think, and for Dundee themselves. I also don't think they're happy with the situation. He was then pressed on it later on. Do you think there should be repercussions for a club whose ground repeatedly fails? He says, no, that's for the boards of all the clubs in the league to discuss. That's not my role. My role is on the sporting side. And then he was said he wanted a decision yesterday on that. And he said, how do you feel about the game being played next week? He said that there are talks between the two clubs and the federation about that. If you want to play in Dundee next week, what's going to happen if it rains next week? It's strange for me because every time it rains there, it's a problem. Those are things for the federation to find a solution, and a good solution for football and fans. And then lastly, he was asked, would you be comfortable going to a neutral stadium? I think in this circumstance, it can be a logical choice. So I think that's what Rangers put towards the governing body. Anywhere else, another venue, it was... I think that's a sensible scenario that Rangers were asking for, that's been dismissed for some reason or another by the SPFL. What I found comical today, Chris, was we had the pitch inspection. We touched on this on the morning briefing at 11 a.m. before the rain had started, which just seems bizarre. And then, of course, it was always going to be pushed back once we had that deluge of rainfall on the pitch. It would have been much more sensible for them just to make a decision yesterday, call the game off or choose another venue. I don't understand why we've left it so late, but I guess that is peak Scottish football, as they say.
You can understand everyone. I think as much as we can criticise Dundee over their conduct in this whole situation, they would also have wanted to play the game. Now, Tony Docherty and his players would wanted to have played the game as well. Yeah. I said earlier on, they're going for top six. That would be a great achievement for them in a season. So they do want the game on. Rangers obviously want it on. The league need it on. SFA need it on. So there's a lot of different stakeholders at play. Everyone just wants this game to be played. And it's not a case, again, see more comments coming in saying just go and play it at Tannadice. It's not as easy as that. It's not set up for VAR as well. And you wouldn't want to have to be the Dundee executive that phones your greatest rivals and say, by the way, we've made a bit of a mess of this. Can we borrow your stadium? So I think if you're looking at alternative venues, it's more likely to be Ibrox, maybe Hampden, somewhere like that. St Johnstone, perhaps, but again, you're then looking at issues there in terms of the pitch there. So it's not as easy as just saying we'll just go and move it down the road. But the Rangers statement makes it perfectly clear that they are wholly unhappy with the entire situation, rightly so. Next time the manager speaks on Friday ahead of the Ross County game, he will not be happy, and understandably so.
No, as you said yesterday, it's a wasted day. I mean, they're up there at a hotel. They'd much rather be at the Rangers training centre going through drills and working on different scenarios. It just sums up Scottish football, unfortunately, which has been led by someone who isn't showing much leadership. It's fair to say he was quick off the marks to praise the record viewing figures of Sunday's Old Firm encounter on Sky. But when scenarios like this prop up, you very rarely hear from Neil Doncaster. So, listen, that is the main news of the day, folks. We don't have a game to look forward to this evening. The game has been called off after Dens Park failed its second pitch inspection. Don Robertson was on the pitch. He gave an interview to Sky a little earlier on. I've not actually seen. He'll probably give an updated interview, I'd imagine, to Sky, who will still be at Dens Park at this point in time. So it will be interesting to hear his thoughts on why the game has been called off. But I think it's plainly obvious to all the pitch is not up to top level standards, so I can understand why it's been called off. But I think it's a decision that could have been made yesterday. But there you go. I don't think we've heard the last of this. As it stands, the game will be played a week today. We'll be in this situation once again. That's no game. We will be back on Sunday. So Rangers they'll head back down they'll be heading back down the road just now and preparing for that game on Sunday against Ross County, which is a huge one. Celtic with the opportunity, given that Rangers are not playing this evening, of going 4 points clear. So it will add some extra pressure heading up to Dingwall on Sunday, unless, of course, St Mirren can do us a favour the day before. But there you go, folks. That'll do us for today. Thanks for everyone for tuning in. Huge numbers on this one. So thank you for tuning in on whatever platform you're watching this show. We'll be back again tomorrow. I'll be on with Johnny tomorrow morning, so we hope you can join us for that, where I'm sure there'll be plenty more talking points to discuss from today's announcement. Huge thanks to Chris and to you all for tuning in, and we'll speak to you a little later on. Bye for now.